Cunning. Power hunger VDL showed her true color with new EU trade law gets slammed hard by Bloc. Ursula von der Leyen has been blasted for being greedy as a new law gives the EU unprecedented power. Britain's hit out at the news of the power grab, warning that it could be very, very dangerous. The new law, which is currently being put through the legislative process, would give the EU the ability to impose counter-sanctions on individuals, companies and entire countries, allowing the bloc to fight back as an entity against or for one of its members. The draft law would have major impacts for global powers China, Russia and the USA, as it would deter them from imposing sanctions on the EU or any of its nations. Responding to the proposals, one of our reader, Jedward wrote, "This could be very, very dangerous. The leaders of countries usually have constraints on their actions, but the EU leaders, unlike even America and to some degree Russia and China, have none." Look how VDL sparked instant trouble over the vaccine scandal, having made her declaration of vaccine war against UK before she was brought down to earth after the event when the damage was done. If VDL or other greedy elites are to become dictators not in name, but in fact, which they are angling to become, war will soon follow. None of their leadership are well-balanced sensible leaders. A second reader, The-Man from Thal, said, "This is what the EU intended to do. Create a dictatorship run by unelected bureaucrats." Meanwhile, Magical Merlin questioned why the bloc is seeking out such power in the first place. He wrote, "The question people should really be asking is, why do they need this power? If it's all unicorns in the meadows of utopia, why is there the need for such an enforcing sledgehammer?" Both Germany and France have backed the idea, signaling that it is likely to be approved. Germany has said the move, which would be the biggest foreign policy power gain for the EU in decades, would be an evolution of the EU towards a European federal state. The federalist EU superstate has also become an increasing possibility since the UK left the bloc, freeing Brussels from UK blockers, but some member states have hit out at the proposals. Polish Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki labeled the plan a dangerous utopia. He said, "We say that the creation of a single European state, the United States of Europe, is a kind of utopia, a dangerous utopia that cannot be constructed solely on the basis of legal assumptions and the extended competences of individual institutions. Here our voice may be weaker or stronger, but the more we speak to common sense and show that these differences not only cannot and should not be equalized." He added this would impoverish the European heritage and would lead towards a very dangerous experiment with many utopian features. There's also an internal EU power game. The future sanctions would be initiated by the EU's executive branch, the Commission, which is sparking fears of a power grab. The EU's Trade Department will play an increasingly political role that circumvents the current unanimity requirement on foreign policy in the Council. Sweden and the Czech Republic were among those voicing their fear in the lead-up to the proposal, asking for more input from EU countries. Those two countries will be at the helm of the Council of the EU after the French mandate during the first half of next year, so one of them will likely lead the negotiations on the file between the European institutions at the end of next year or in 2023. Chances are high that some capitals will then try to water down the instrument or at least get more involved. Strong Atlanticists would not want to enter into a tit-for-tat sanctions battle with Washington for Iran's sake, and many EU countries would fear an all-out trade war with China just to defend Lithuania, something that they could only avoid in the current proposal by finding a majority to block a decision by the Commission. But if the proposal is watered down, the instrument also risks being less effective. We have to be as broad as possible on the definition of coercion and on the countermeasures, said Marie-Pierre Vidren, a French MEP who follows the instrument for the Liberal Renew Europe group. If we want this instrument to have the desired dissuasive effect, it has to be ambitious. There is a clear gap in the EU's toolbox now, as a third country can now easily convince one or two EU countries to vote against countermeasures against that country, he said. But if the instrument becomes too weak, the bloc is better off without.